The year was 1879, and the town of Dust Rock lay curled under the burning Texas sun. The streets were quiet except for the rattle of wagon wheels and the occasional whinny of a horse. Folks went about their business, heads low, because Dust Rock had a secret. It was a place ruled by fear. Sheriff Wallace kept a badge on his chest, but his loyalty was to the Blackthorn gang, not the people. That morning, a stranger rode into town. He was broad-shouldered, with weathered skin and eyes that carried too many storms. His name was Cole Harding. Rumors followed him. Some said he'd been a soldier, others whispered he was a hired gun. Cole didn't bother correcting anyone. He only came for work and a quiet place to start again. But his gaze lingered on the woman standing outside the general store, a young widow named Clara Bell. Her husband had been killed in a land dispute, leaving her to fend off creditors and leering men alone. Clara's dress was plain, but her dignity was sharp as steel. And for the first time in years, Cole felt something stir in his chest. That evening, the saloon doors swung wide, and in strode Wade Blackthorn, the gang leader. His boots struck the floorboards like gunshots. His men followed, their laughter sharp, their pistols sharper. Wade's eyes landed on Clara, who had come to buy supplies, and he smirked. "You're still alone, Clara? Shame. A woman like you needs protection." Clara stiffened. "I'll manage fine on my own." Cole, sitting at a corner table, watched the exchange. He didn't want trouble, but when Wade grabbed Clara's wrist, Cole stood up. Silence fell across the saloon. "Let go," Cole said. His voice was steady, but the room seemed to shift around it. Wade released her, but not before leaning close. "You've got a death wish, stranger. Dust Rock don't take kindly to heroes." Cole knew then. His arrival in Dust Rock wasn't going to stay quiet. Clara found Cole outside later that night. She carried a lantern, its glow soft against her face. "You shouldn't have interfered," she whispered. "Now Wade will come after you." "I've had worse after me," Cole replied. But no man puts his hands on a woman who don't want it. For a long moment, Clara studied him. She saw the hardness in him, the kind forged in battles, but beneath it, a quiet sorrow. "Why did you come here?" she asked. Cole hesitated, looking for a place to belong. Something passed between them, fragile but real. Clara, who had learned not to trust easily, felt the first spark of safety she'd known since her husband died. Days passed. Cole found work mending fences on the outskirts of town, and word spread quickly. He was strong, efficient, and dangerous enough that even Blackthorn's men hesitated to cross him. Clara visited with baskets of food, saying it was payment for his help, though she had little to give. But trouble wasn't far. One evening, Cole found Clara's barn burned to the ground. The smell of kerosene lingered in the air, and in the ashes lay a black feather, Blackthorn's calling card. Clara's eyes brimmed with tears, but she stood tall. "They won't drive me out. This is my land." Cole clenched his fists. "Then I'll stand with you." It was the first promise he'd made in years, and one he intended to keep. The Blackthorn gang struck again, this time ambushing Clara's wagon on the road. Cole fought them off, his revolver barking in the dark, but he took a bullet grazing his side. Clara, trembling, tore strips of cloth to bind his wound. "You could have been killed," she cried. Cole winced, managing a faint smile. Wouldn't be the first time. As she tended him, Clara saw the scars across his chest and shoulders. "You've lived through battles," she murmured. He looked away. "I lost more than I won. A wife, a child. That's why I keep writing. Nothing holds me anymore." Clara's breath caught. The sorrow in his voice wasn't just a wound. It was an old, unhealed fracture. Without thinking, she touched his hand. "Maybe Dust Rock could be different," she whispered. Word reached Cole that Sheriff Wallace had struck a deal with Wade Blackthorn. Clara's land would be signed over in exchange for her safety. Cole stormed into the sheriff's office. "That land is hers, and you know it." Wallace sneered. "Not for long. You think you can fight Wade? He owns this town." Cole's hand hovered near his revolver, but Clara's voice stopped him. She'd followed, desperation in her eyes. "Don't, Cole. They'll hang you for murder, guilty or not." The sheriff smirked. "Smart woman. You'd do better to listen to her, Harding." Cole swallowed his rage. For Clara's sake, he walked out. but his silence was a storm waiting to break. At dawn, Wade Blackthorne and his men rode to Clara's ranch, rifles gleaming. Cole stood at the gate, revolver on his hip, shotgun across his arm. "This land's mine," Wade shouted. "Step aside, stranger." Cole shook his head. "You'll have to bury me here first." The standoff stretched long and thin, the air tight as a noose. Then gunfire cracked. Dust exploded. Horses reared. Clara watched from the porch, her prayers lost in the thunder of bullets. Cole fought like a man with nothing left to lose. He dropped 1, 2, 3 men. A bullet tore his shoulder, but he stayed standing. Finally, Wade charged, knife in hand. They grappled in the dirt, fists and fury, until Cole drove him back. With one last swing, Wade fell. The Blackthorne gang scattered, leaving their leader in the dust. The town of Dust Rock stirred as word spread. Wade Blackthorne was dead. Sheriff Wallace vanished before sunrise, knowing his protection had ended. Cole sat on Clara's porch, arm in a sling, watching the horizon blaze gold. Clara brought him coffee, her hand brushing his as she set it down. "You didn't have to stay," she said softly. "Maybe I wanted to," he answered. For the first time in years, his voice carried something lighter than sorrow. Clara smiled. "Then stay. This land doesn't need another ghost. It needs someone willing to fight for it." Cole looked at her, at the stubborn fire in her eyes, and nodded. He had come searching for a place to belong. Against all odds, he had found it. And in the hush of that Texas morning, the widow of Dry Creek and the battle-worn stranger began to build something new, together.